What is up, y'all? It is me, Tasha C, and in this particular video, I will be recapping the Tyler Perry Finding Joy Christmas-like movie, even though it really only had one scene that actually with the background had to do with Christmas. We really talk Christmas, but I'm gonna stick to it and go ahead and review and talk about this movie. I hope y'all enjoyed your holidays. It's the first day, happy day, first day of Kwanzaa. I think Boxing Day, I don't know if it already came or not, Christmas and stuff like that, Happy New Year's. And you know what? Let the new Grinch take it.
The Grinch!
What's poppin', twin?
How's it going?
Hey, you doing?
Now let's get into this review. I'm letting y'all know in advance, I didn't take, usually I don't, even though I should. This time I did not take any notes, so I'm just gonna go on top of my head of what I remember the movie. And this is Tyler Perry's Finding Joy. Okay, we get into the first scene. They're having a runway fashion show, and we're kind of hearing talks between Lita and I think her name's Anita or Ashley, who are the best friends of Joy. Joy is the main character in this movie. So Lita's telling Miss Ashley or Anita, like, how are they bestie, and they knew they obviously, I guess, I don't know, it was before college, but at least around college, it's like how she's working for this a-hole who has been stealing this woman's designs, culture vulture off of her fashions. All right, and we just explaining like, okay, we sick of this. I'm tired of my friend being mistreated, whatever. And then when they zoom in, which the same guy, I think his name is Colin. I forgot what his name is in the movie, because that's how. I mean, he was in a couple scenes, but not that long. But his name, so we're gonna call him Mr. C, is what his name is. But they zooming in and how it's like how she getting played and being lead on about Mr. C, who's about, because she was like, okay, she sent herself a get out and stuff like that, right? And like Nita's like the more understanding, kind of like Randy Rat's understanding one, but kind of like a little bit more back with the situation. But like I said, it's the same guy. If y'all remember the show, The Have or Not, he played the son of the rich folks, which of course that whole show started off as several season bands, just went downhill into the series finale. But anyway, so she's going back, and her boss / the villain's Patrick or Parika or whatever his name is, he's getting mad at her about certain stuff, and even down to her hair. Like, what about your hair? See, again, talking about black woman's hair. And she's like, he's like, what are you doing with that one? She was like, this is my hair. Well, who wears natural hair anymore? That type of shit. Okay. So they talk to Mr. C and her friends, and like I said, Lita's the most spoken one. Okay, she's also like supposed to be the comic relief, where you get a kiki out of her because she be smoking on that week on them trees. So Mr. C invites her to meet his family because he wants to take the family to the next level. Based on what I gather, and he always kisses her on the forehead. I don't know. She just makes sense. He's from Colorado. And they in New York at the moment, or been in New York or anything. So I don't know how long Mr. C was at there, or like remembered to care about how long it is. But he said, this is my girl. This is my best girl. I want you to be my best girl. But I don't think they've been intimate or anything, or anything. But she's leading on to think like, oh, he's just taking his time. So to make a long story short, she gets planned to go on a trip, and even though her besties, also / her roommates, is like, don't do it, she decides to go to Colorado in a sexy dress and a nice, outfit. And then his even his dad is like, okay, are you sure this is just your friend, just a platonic friend? And she still doesn't know what's going on. She's, she goes there, and this is woman there. And I first thought, honestly, y'all, it was her sister. It was his sister. But it turns out that he had the nerves to have her come out there, and on a separate plane with them, but they did pick her up from the airport, only to find out that he asked her to be his best man's best girl for their wedding. And then it shows on the wall, engagement, for him and Heather. Okay, so she's disappointed. She calls her friends, because they already were texting anyway, know the group chat about this stuff before. And they like, what the hell? And they FaceTime and they're like, oh God, and she's trying to get out of here. Now, there's already been a warning that it's going to be a horrible snowstorm. Well, she should be used to it now because she's lived or been living in New York or came from New York for a long time. But she's got to find a way to get out of this. So she finds a way while everybody's, the rest of it was his mom and dad and his new fiance. Because she just in shock, but she just said yes, but I'm glad she didn't stay there. So what she did is she, got out the window and left out of there. And, power walked and rolled into the neighborhood. And went to the airport, and of course, because of the storm, she cannot get out of there. And she's like, okay, forget this, I'll even rent a car, just to get out here, to drive out here. That's how she's determined to get out of here and out of the situation, because she can't, because of the snowstorm, she cannot get out. That's about to force a blizzard, whatever. That's the only time, if y'all are watching this and just seeing the pictures I have on there, this is the only time Christmas ever mentioned, at least to my knowledge, was showing the little Christmas trees and Mr. C's family home. That's it. That is it. There's no mention of Christmas, anything has to do with this film, other than that little part, even though it's supposed to be a Christmas film. But all right. Must continue. Excuse me. So, she decides forget this, rent a car. So she go to part of the airport where she rent a car, and they're like, okay, we only have one car, everything we only got is only 2-wheel drive, it's winter. So she was like, I don't care. Just get me out this shit. I am tired. I'm, trying to get away from these people, to herself. She's like, I don't care. I'll rent it. I don't care. So while she is driving and the GPS, be telling you to go left, right, go over here, left, right, left, right. She gets out the car because she's like, what the hell? It's basically like where all the snow is starting to form. And she gets out the vehicle and it's like, one bad thing after another was happening. And she locks herself out the vehicle. She can't get out. And then, y'all, it turns out the snow is on top of a frozen lake. So the car starts to sink in. And unfortunately, that means her too. She's not able to get out in time. So we see her underwater, and they're zooming in under this romance novel that looked like it came out during the Fire days. So that's what her best friends would tell her trying to find this romantic, this romantical story, and think it's gonna come in real life, whatever. You know what, y'all? Maybe I need to make a video, like the black romance offers and different types. Maybe that might inspire me to do that. I know that's going to take some time, but I just thought about it because assuming the cover looked like, if y'all remember the romance novels, whether in the bookstores or sometimes grocery stores, that's what it reminded me of. So it zoomed in on that book, and it was drowning. Next minute, we see her in the scene in this cabin, and she's sitting there in some fur. She see on the wall, just like I think in Mr. C's wall, they had had a deer head on the wall, and there was a bear on the wall. She's like, oh my gosh. And you zoom in, you first see some hands that show the guy, and turn out to be there's a black man and randomly in a town that look, it's nothing but Caucasian people. And she's like, what the heck? She's even asking, what the hell, what's going on here, blah blah. She's panicking, and he's basically like, calm down. And he ends up, making a long story short, he explains to her what happened, because she blacked out. She didn't even know, like, once she hit that water, he was trying to stop her. She couldn't see him. He was trying to stop her from going into the water where she accidentally, fell into and Mercedes Drive. So what he did is he ends up rescuing her and bringing back to his cabinet, which we find later on, y'all, is actually a family cabin. Well, most of the film takes place is really in this family cabin. There's one bedroom, I guess, that they go to, and where she stays along with her two besties, which is the only family she has, we find out, because she was a foster kid. that was able to go to design school and stuff like that. But anyways, so she of course has some questions back and forth, information. She was like, no, I'm not a killer, or nothing like that. And he just comes here, and he's even trying to even offer another scene, like, do you, want something to eat? And he's one of those people that when he goes to cabinets, I think, he doesn't have anything but just nature. He hunts sometimes for food because he was having on some rabbit stew. She said she was vegan. He's the type that she said, okay, I got you some candy beans. We do what we do. And he's the type that will go into the little neighborhood and walk to use the phone. Okay, so he's one of those type of people. Okay, so what happens? One of the scenes was, even when she asked can she use the bathroom, he points out there's an outer house. She's like, what the hell? She was like, maybe I could go to, how long it's gonna take before it opens up? And he's explaining, like, okay, the snowstorms and stuff. He's even kind of asking, like, are you okay? Annie, are you okay? For her to be coming up here, because he was, he didn't know the whole story about she ended up here, but just, okay, you're in the middle of a snowstorm, like, you're talking about me, what about you? Not, like I said, it was kind of like back and forth. Okay, a little bit about the background of themselves, but a lot of it was like, are you crazy? At least to me it was. Are you crazy? Are you okay? Okay, when is the blizzard gonna stop? I'm gonna have to go home, blah blah blah. But it shows one scene where she goes to the outer house, and he was about to try to kill, I think, either a deer or a moose, I forgot, for dinner. And she screamed, because it turns out she just plopped on, after plopped on, the in the outhouse and got stuck, and he had to help remove her because she got stuck. And he even brings up, this is also the other time where they were talking about movie, not saying the Christmas, what is the Christmas Story? There's only a time Christmas is mentioned when he mentions, like, do you remember the movie The Christmas Story? And the boy's tongue, and they had to help him. He got this tongue stuck, and you're just wet, and he just put his tongue on a pole. Look, that's a classic movie, y'all. If y'all have not seen it, he brings it up, and he's able to pull her off. And she's like, okay, get out of here, but she got stuck. So, like I said, I get the common leader and Anita, I'm gonna call her. They are going back and forth, and they're trying to, of course, find out. They haven't heard from her, and they like, what the hell? Especially when she said she was going to try to get her way back, even though they were explaining, like, okay, I don't know what to do. Maybe you should get a hotel. Like I say, everything was booked up, and that seemed, like I said, was a very small town on top of that. So, they're trying to find a way to get her, but meantime, they smoking trees. And Lita, like I said, one of the things how they had her do the comic relief thing was like, go to the hotel and just ask a white man be like Tina Turner. I'm Tina Turner, I'm 75 in the name. That's supposed to be funny, but it's nothing that's based on the fact it's about a woman who survived DV and was trying to get rid of her husband. Not only was that fake, but that was not that would have been terrible even if this was fictional character, but that does happen to some people, and it actually happened on top of that. For that to be funny, it was not hitting, okay? But like I said, they're trying to find the numbers and find them. The comic relief is that her and Nita sometimes be smoking, so they're going back and forth. So like I said, most of this film is taken back and forth where they're talking in the cabin. They eventually begin to know each other and talk a little bit. He does admit later on that he goes to this cabin. He's got into it with his brothers. I don't recall whether or not he said it was before or after, but his mom passed away 2 years ago. He comes out here sometimes to get away from stuff. He doesn't talk to his dad neither, because his dad got married 5 to 6 months after the mother passing. Okay, he does have a good relationship with his brother. That's when we find out from Joy that she's not, that she's was a foster kid, because she doesn't have any family. Because like I said, all I noticed that she was talking to was her best friends. We eventually see Mr. C, Heather. They're up here trying to see. I don't know how long they've been up there. Look like they changed the clothes, but they finally went upstairs to see what was going on with Joy and realized Joy's gone. They're trying to find, like I said, Miss Lita them Lita and finally call where we could talk to the sheriff, and they try to ask her information, but they're talking, you know, the cliche paranoid thing where they're still smoking weed, whatever, on the phone, and eventually hang up because they don't have enough information. They don't even have the last name of Mr. C in the first place. So they eventually were able to get in touch with Mr. C. And talk to explain to him, I know, did you do something to our friend, blah, blah, blah. He was like, I don't even know where she's at. I'm trying to find out what's going on my own self. Well, probably not really, but I mean, he probably was confused about, okay, how'd she get out? What happened? But we go back to the cabinet. And she one time complained about her trying to find love in the wrong places. One guy ended up fooling around with a friend, or others say backstabber, because that sure ain't no friend, and make that feel good enough. And her trying, you know, even I don't know if she confessed about her with Mr. trying to think that it was gonna be something with Mr. C, but her falling for the wrong person wrong time. He thought that his last relationship that it was going to be good, woo woo woo, but sadly it didn't work out. And he found out his former woman was cheating, whatever. And now they're both at the point where they're both single, and they're kind of like, they're talking, but they're not really talking. And I'm thinking about, he was very picky, where he didn't want to pick her or anything, but I guess some of the stuff that reminded him of his mom that he was trying to cherish. So he was reading a book, and I'm thinking, like, how many books does he have? Because since he doesn't go, when he's out in the woods, he wants to have a disconnection, disconnection. But I forgot, I don't know if he ever said, like, what type of business he had, because I know he said that was like, that's where he goes out there, and with his mom like not being there anymore, but he sometimes like uses that can disconnect. So I don't know what he does. I'm gonna be truthful, honest with y'all. If y'all watch the film, maybe y'all can tell me about it, because it's on Amazon Prime. But they get to we're seeing where she's getting some trying to get some wood for the fire. Because, like I said, he sleeps in the chair with the cowboy hat on top of his head while she sleeps in the bed. And she noticed the wood was going down, and she puts on the blanket, and what kind of startled him and it made him mad was, he was like, what are you doing out here? She's like, I'm just getting some wood, off the porch. He gets mad and gets frustrated because he's like, okay, this is the quilt my mom gave you. You messed up, because it did get like snagged a little by, I guess, like some wood bark that was on there. And she makes it better later on. She was like, here, I stitched it up, and he was stunned. And instead she was like, wow, how do you do that? Because he was first mad, so we seen her, she found a needle. Now I don't know where she found, because did he tell him not to touch anything? I think he said that, just ask me if you want me to help you with some stuff with him, because so she been on beans and coffee, really, and coffee beans. But my friends are still smoking weed and trying to find out, get out there. Like I said, they found Mr. C, so I guess they don't show exactly when it, like, on the plane to there to come back. I mean, on their way to get her, but they're on their way out there. And like I said, she and him when she shows him that, I with the dining school, this is my specialty. I know how to do this. I know this. So they talk, and he shows her that he said from joy to ridge, because I forgot to mention the man's name is Ridge, if I have not said that already. And they were just saying, believe in the coincidence. And like I said, he must only have one book, and I was surprised. I don't think they mentioned it's not one of them biblical films that connect with the Bible, but he only showed one book, and she has the rights. So I don't know, maybe she was drawing designs. I don't know. So I was just thinking, like, are they just in silent this whole week? They've been there mostly since they no TV, no nothing, no tablet, and it looked like only one book where he was writing. Okay, let me stop asking questions and shit. So they end up, after the stitch, her stitching the quilt, and them, like laughing and talking. He's like, do you like to drink whatever? And she's like, that's the thing occasionally I had. And he had some strong stuff, and I think it was supposed to be moonshine. First I thought it was whiskey, but then it looked like the color changed when they drink it on the bed, just talking. They're still sitting up at the moment, right? And he lets her know, he was like, he thinks she's beautiful. And because she's thinking, like, I always I had to keep my makeup on and all this other stuff. Like I said, they've been taking some drinks. And he's like, I think you're beautiful. She's like, for real, whatever. And I think this also around the time when we get to shower scene. Now, I kind of realized how many days this went past by. He's taking a shower on the side, but he has the towel up, so you see the upper, torso area, you see the abs, you see the arms, you see the floor glisten on up on his upper body. I mean, just give me the sexy. But he's just talking to her, and time she was looking, but I'm like, okay, here we get the cliche. But then I just realized, has she been wiping? I don't think unless he went to the town and they had a blizzard, which it kind of think about, even though it was a blizzard, y'all, did they ever change I don't recall the snow levels being that like high or changed in the film. Okay, let me stop asking questions. Okay. All right. About this. He tells, they start, like I said, they talking and drinking and realize there's some chemistry there. And like I said, she already told him earlier about this. I think around that time, I already told about Mr. C. And he actually knows about the guy. He was like, oh, okay. He went to New York. Oh, him? I think he said he had his team, but he knows him. Whatever, but it was no big thing. And then they realized, okay, the chemistry is there, all this stuff, like I said, still besides him talking about the Christmas story references and seeing the Christmas tree decoration in Mr. C's family home. That's the only time we hear about Christmas. But they realized that chemistry and drinking. He was like, you know what, I don't want to go because I don't think I'm gonna let go. Okay. And she's like, I want to take you there, take me through there is what she is asking, Rich. Okay, take me through there. And you see them kissing, whatever, and then you see the lovely snow the next day, and she's just like, oh, okay, well, can we go to the town now? And he was like, last night, and he doesn't want to admit, like, he actually has feelings there. She has feelings as well, but she's kind of been more like dismissive, like, okay, it was a good thing, we had fun when we had fun, but I'm trying to get the hell on, get him out of New York and get the fuck on, okay? And he's like, sure, stump. So they get into his car. She kind of like, why are you acting that way? Whatever. But he's able to take her, and they eventually are able to run into to Mr. C. Them, they're in his family, they're on the thing, and they apologize. And her friends is like, come on now. And they like, oh, who he? Lita and Atna, and even Mr. C and them, they just say hi real quick, whatever, because like I said, it's a small town, and I don't know, besides family caring, where the hell he comes from, where he stays at. Really not too much information about him, and they didn't even zoom in on the picture of his mama. It was a picture like a wallet size, not the small wallet size, but the next size up that he had his mama, a picture, and that was it. That's the only picture he had. Shit, okay, there's so many questions. I'm asking this to make sense, y'all. Okay. So she's mad, and he's basically like, you know what, whatever, you go about your business. He's stumping back, to the cabinet, whatever, or to the car. Like I said, I'm just going to prop the top of my head and not take notes. And she goes back to her job, whatever. And at first they're on the plane, they're asking, of course, her friends, besties, families, asking, because that's the only family she has. So obviously these two young ladies, based on what they say. And they get back home, and she going back to that job, working with the culture bursar asshole who keeps stealing her stuff. And I guess the boss is like asking her, because somebody's been emailing like, there's somebody here that keeps emailing saying, email me all these patterns and designs and saying these zero designs. And she's downplaying it. Like I said, okay, yes, she works, but it's almost like she's giving away her designs and refuses to accept, like, this is BS. He's stealing your stuff. This is stealing your sign. He's stealing your work, your skills and stuff, and claiming they were on, okay? And she's just over-exaggerates and trying to like downplay that, oh, I mean, yeah, I worked on them, but these are not. So he basically, the boss is like, you know what? The boss is over Paprika, Patrick Starr, whatever his name is, okay? And he just like, you know what? This is not making any sense. Whatever, you're fired. So, and he's telling the guy, because like Patrick, like felt like, Paprika felt like he was being like trying to be silenced, and she quote was going behind her back about her own stuff, and she still was trying to take her for it. He was threatening her like, you never work in this town, in this industry again. So she goes back home explaining to her best, like, I just got fired, I don't know what to do. And it turns out Lita, with the trees, Well, she was like, I was tired, bestie. I was tired of them taking advantage of you. I'm sorry. But she was mad that her best friend tried to defend her. And she still was trying to defend the asshole who stole from her. Okay. So she was mad. And she was stumbling out about to leave. And he ends up, I don't know where. Maybe he finally did use Google when he got back. She runs into him right when she's leaving the end of the place, and he's like explaining, you know, I looked for you. I wanted to try and be for you because it's been 1 month later. Okay, when all this occurred, by the way. So this is January. Like I said, it was around Christmas time, or at least the month of December. We gather. It could have been November for all the heck we know, but. He's like, let's go in there. They talk. He say hi to everybody. How you doing to the friends? And they go to the room, and we sitting waiting 9 times out of 10. They got it on again. Then and they're talking, and he's basically realized like they do have some feelings there, and maybe try to work on something. And then she gets a response again from the boss. Boss wanting her to come back, and she's confused about, okay, you fired me, but y'all want me to come back. The boss ends up realizing and talking to her professors or get in contact and realize like, okay, we also see proof that these are your drawings. The drawings is like, yeah, this is her. This is Joy stuff. Joy created this stuff. And then he had Paprika in the room, and he basically like, man, you fired. Get the heck on. And it's offering Joy like, okay, this position over Paprika's position, and so give her props and giving her like, you know what, not only is she fired, but Paprika's fired, but Joy, this is gonna be your stuff from now on. And he was offering her like a high position, but she felt some type of way. I don't think I want to do this, but that's what she was thinking, like she just wanted to go to Colorado for a minute or forever, I forgot. But back with Rich. And she, she goes out of the room because Rich ends up going with her to this meeting, but he waited outside. And he was just like, by that time, Patrick Star, Paprika already went out. But he decides to tell her, he was like, I know, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I love you, girl. I want to be with you. I want to marry you and stuff like that. We'll work through it. I'll even get a phone. I'll do what I can. Like I said, they never explain where they end up just like going to the cabinet during the summer. He did say he ends up meeting with his brothers and talking to his dad and coming into terms like, we'll work it through in far as healing. But he's like, this is your dream. This is what you call do, want to do, whatever. Don't give up or whatever on your dreams and hope, and we'll work it out. So you know what? She went and back into that room and decided to be like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and you know what? I'm going to take your position. I changed my mind, and we're going to work, but we're going to follow my lead. I ain't going to lie, y'all. I thought that after she said that they were going to zoom in and show her design, showing her name and runway, maybe 10 extra minutes where, even though I know they still couldn't do much, would consider how vague, and yeah, it was some cliche-ish, whatever. But at the same time, I mean, it was all right movie. But I ain't gonna lie, we're gonna give it a C for effort. But because the reason why I say this is the next scene when she's talking about, okay, we're gonna do it my way. She and Rich, we don't know the time getting married, and they don't show the two guys along with Lita, and Nita being probably the best bridesmaid. They just show two guys. They never show and say, like, if the dads were made away. They just go straight to, you may now kiss the bride. They're at some little cabin and got married at, or cabin church and got married. The end. Credits come on. I thought it was at least even going to be a blooper or something. That was it. So other than that, y'all, hugs and love. What did y'all think about the movie? And sorry, y'all, if y'all was wondering who that was not like a special voice. That was my dad in the background. But anyway, y'all, hugs and loves, and I'll see y'all in next video. Blogs, take care.